Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute. Okay, before we kind of start going live here in just a second, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping just to let you know we're doing this meeting style. So it'd be great if you could, while you're listening to some of the speakers or viewing the film, just go on mute. You can turn your camera off or leave it on. It's up to you. What will happen is when we share the film, you will only really be able to see the film and Fatmata's screen. So I do want to let you know who I am. My name is Yarrow. I am the Workplace Justice Program Director at New Jersey Citizen Action. I also help convene the New Jersey Time to Care Coalition, which is a coalition of a diverse range of organizations, many of which are here today. Thank you for being here, Time to Care Coalition. And we all work together to advocate and pass policies and do outreach on issues and rights so that workers can afford to take time off to deal with their own health, as well as care for their loved ones and bond with new children. So more about the Time to Care Coalition in a little bit, but to get us started, I just want to make sure you know that I have a couple of colleagues. I want to thank Adam and Fatmata, who will be helping out behind the scenes. And we're going to start the film here in just a second. We did do a screening of the 20-minute version of the full-length feature film called 0 Weeks, and I believe we did it back in July, if I'm not mistaken. And if you were part of that screening, thank you for being there, and thank you for being here again tonight. This is the updated version, the same director of that film, which you can catch the full film 0 Weeks on Amazon Prime. Okay, so we're going to get started. Again, please just make sure you're on mute. And I'm going to actually introduce Fatmata to give us a little bit of background on what we're looking at when it comes to paid family leave. Fatmata?
Hi, everyone. I'm Fatmata. Like Yarrow said, I'm the new paid leave organizer. So New Jersey has a paid leave program along with a handful of other states. But the rest of the United States doesn't have that. And we're virtually the only country in the world without paid family leave, which means that many US workers can't actually afford to take time off for their healthcare needs, whether it's for themselves, whether it's for their loved ones, to bond with new children. So the movie, so basically zero. So right now we're at a tipping point where that could hopefully change, finally change actually. Congress is debating the Build Back Better package of legislation which contains elements of the first paid family and medical leave program. But it's not a done deal yet, and we have to actually continue to raise our voices and uplift. After the film, we will discuss how everyone can take action to get paid leave for everyone over the finish line. This is an exciting moment, and in time, it's like all of our stories that have made the movement for paid leave and continuous to make it powerful. So with that, let's hear some of these stories. I would like to introduce Permelia.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here this evening. My name is Permelia, and I'm from Roselle, New Jersey. I'm a member of the Voices of Workers, or VAL, an advisory group that is part of the Paid Leave for All national campaign. And I'll share a little more about myself after the film. In the film, hashtag Time to Care, you're going to hear from another VAL member. Her name is Tamika Henry. We have gotten to know each other on the advisory group, and she is really a great speaker and amazing activist. But she lives in Nevada, a state that has no paid family leave. We have been fighting for paid leave for over a decade here in New Jersey. And we passed a state paid family leave program. But so many other workers in most other states have nothing. But the time has arrived for that to change. With the pandemic, we have more understanding than ever that we all need time to care, and that most of us can't afford it without paid leave. And Kai Dickens, The award-winning director of 0 Weeks discovered an interest in an unexpected place, TikTok. The more she looked, the more she found people with zero tolerance for 0 weeks of paid leave and an appetite for activism. And with that, I welcome everyone to watch the film together. But please stick around for our conversation following the film in about 20 minutes.
Okay, so I am going to start airing the film now. Hold on. Give me about 2 seconds to share.
TikTok. It can suck you into another's relationships, kitchen, car, brain. I didn't really get it until my wife started TikToking. I'm bored in the house and I'm in the house as a way to feel connected and relevant during the pandemic. I posted one lone TikTok about our attempt at a family bike ride. I don't spend much time on social media and thought TikTok was mostly humorous commentary on the mundane and the ridiculous. The nights are the hardest. But then I started noticing a slew of stories on caregiving and paid leave. And they were sweet and moving and funny. Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru. Paid leave is something I've come to know and care a lot about. My own lack of adequate paid leave when I had our daughter became the catalyst for my film 0 Weeks about the paid leave crisis in America. I went to work every day and left on my lunch break and did radiation and went back to work. I ended up working 3 days after my daughter was born. There's nothing we can really do. My dad, he had leukemia. He was fired. Why is it that the rest of the world has figured this out and we haven't? After the film came out, it was an awesome ride. The work of nonprofits, business owners, medical groups, and faith groups built so much momentum around the issue, and 0 Weeks was often a part of that. And then the entire country witnessed all at once why paid leave is important.
When the pandemic hit, more than 30 million workers in the United States didn't have access to even a single day of paid leave. 4 in 5 workers do not have access to paid family leave.
What happens if you or a loved one gets sick and you have no access to paid leave? You have to choose between losing your income or your health. Many people couldn't be with a dying loved one before the pandemic. And now that was happening on a massive scale. The United States kind of sucks a little bit. And over there on TikTok, people were talking about what was happening in America. I started taking care of my mom and my grandma, but there was something fresh about their voices and their stories. People were fed up, exasperated, even laughing at the utter lunacy in their lack of options.
Ask why we do this from a dad. A lot of people don't know. So my dad is actually a medically retired Navy SEAL.
For decades, most Americans thought they had to bear the lack of paid leave because that's what normal is.
So is it true that President Biden is proposing a national paid leave program? Yes. Am I getting punked? No, it's true.
But the movement and the pandemic are turning the tide. More and more people now have zero tolerance for 0 weeks of paid leave. I wanted to know more about the TikTok creators who were posting about their caregiving journeys. So I started to Zoom with some of them.
My name is Sarah Clemens. I am 35 years old. I am the sole caregiver for my father who has dementia. He's 74 years old.
So when did you start posting on TikTok and how did all of that come about?
So the pandemic, and it was nothing to do. So I created my page basically to share a journey of being a young caregiver, all fresh and clean. He's waiting for me. So I did not expect to go viral and I didn't expect that. I was shocked. I know that the amount of support that I received from my dad is tremendously. Honestly, these are people that I have never met in person, but the amount of love and affection that they show me and my father, it's amazing. We kind of message back and forth, actually talk on the phone. A lot of people, they don't do paid leave. So when someone gets sick or you have a terminal illness in your family, you are pretty much forced to go on leave without pay. And now they're stressing about their loved ones, life or death situation, as well as stressing with the whole, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to provide food? You see a lot of people that are burnt out.
And when I could travel again, I wanted to meet some of them.
All right, Grant, you're doing great.
Like Grant Konbalanov, a super beloved TikTok dad.
Clap. All right, take one. My friend, walk us through it.
I started a TikTok account just because I was bored and traveling so much. And then the pandemic hit and that turned into, I'm just gonna record like everyday life in our house. Say hi. I will never have a boyfriend.
No!
What? Kind of showing like we're not this perfect YouTube family that like everything is great. So my name is Grant Konbalanov. I served in the Navy for almost 13 years. I conducted counter-piracy and counter-narcotic missions, stopping drug runners and stopping pirates. These are the type of people that don't want you to go home. They could have weapons, they could have explosives, and they will not hesitate to use it on you. This is training to do our counter-piracy missions. In 2015, I started having issues medically. Things were just not right with my digestive system, and they could not figure out what it was for about 5 years. At first, I said, I'm going to keep pushing in the Navy to try to get to retirement. And then I sat down with the doctor, and he said, like, you could not wake up tomorrow, and you have to get your priorities straight. So this photo right here was when they figured out what was wrong with me and diagnosed me with Crohn's disease. They say that it's either genetic or it's stress-induced, and no one in my family has Crohn's disease. So it was the stress from the military and the jobs that I had. I had surgery the first week of November. I recovered for a week in the hospital, and then they sent me home on a Friday. At that point, because it's something that we weren't expecting, my wife had no paid time off. And they're kind of like, yeah, figure it out. Sorry. So these are all the medicines that I had to take for this surgery. They pretty much like ripped my entire stomach apart and removed intestines and stitched them back up. It was tough. Let's read that one first, and then we'll read this one. The doctor said, like, for 8 weeks, don't even lift anything heavier than a pencil. And when I told that to my kids, and they were so young, they had no idea, they didn't understand. I was in so much pain that I didn't even want to do, just like basic things like brush my teeth or take a shower or eat or drink, just because of like how much pain it was causing me. And I would have to pretty much wait for my wife to get home.
Making the decision whether to go or to stay was the hardest thing that I had ever been through. I wanted to support him. I wanted to be there.
We couldn't afford her not getting paid and staying home from work. If my wife was able to be off with me, it would have helped a lot.
First child going away to college. You still sticking with your major?
As of right now, yes, I'm still in the aviation.
Please do not jump out of planes, because I will have a heart attack. And you already know how my heart's at. Most of you do is jumping jacks. That's it.
Exercise.
Next, we visited Tamika Henry in Nevada. She's become an advocate for paid leave on all of her social media platforms.
Well, we all had COVID back in December. I was out of work for 30 days without pay.
She made a TikTok about her story that seemed like the great American narrative for so many frontline workers in 2020.
But I must fight for paid family medical leave for all, because we shouldn't have to choose between paying our bills or taking care of our loved ones or ourselves. So this community garden serves the underserved population here in the historic west side of Las Vegas. These are the roads that the community can come out and pick. Not many grocery stores here, not many opportunities or options to get fresh fruit and produce. I have been here for about 4 years now. I love working here. I know that it's so good for the community. That road right there is the Little Roots Road. That's where the kids are growing their stuff, and so the sunflowers are having a race. Seeing the kids come out here and learning about gardening and how to grow their own food, this is what we do it all for. girl. Look at this. Always. Please help. Always. You come to me when it's like this. Oh, don't even. Maisha has been doing my hair for 13 going on 13 years. Oh my goodness. How's Abdul doing? He was in the hospital all last week. Like, any times that he get out and he'll go right back the next day. Abdul, my husband, he started getting sick in 2006. We didn't know what was going on. Vomiting, stomach pains. When he would be at work, sometimes they have to call the paramedics. And one day, one of the hospital visits, his sugars were over 400.
And this is the second part.
And we found out that he was diabetic. And that was just the beginning. It's been 15 years of in and out of the hospital, even with me just trying to find, a stable job and work that understands. So although I have flexibility, which is great, and I know that my job is secure, it's just they didn't offer paid leaves. Do you take off work and miss pay? Do you stay at work and then not be there to take care of your family, your loved one? And even when me and my daughters had COVID, we needed paid leave then too. My youngest daughter was the first one who was diagnosed with COVID, and the doctors told me that she needed to be isolated. She just turned 14. Absolutely not. We tried to wear a mask and make sure to sanitize, but I still caught it. And it was one day when she looked over at me and she said, "Mom, are we gonna die?" I was off for almost a month. It was crazy because I knew that, yes, I'm fighting for my life, but also, how are we gonna pay these bills? They're not gonna stop. Bills do not care that it's a pandemic. They're still gonna be waiting for you on the 1st, on the 15th. It was already a problem for us as a family, but all Americans who either need to care for someone or need to be cared for. Our bill always the highest.
Lastly, I went to Texas to meet Lydia Delgado. She started posting on TikTok to help other parents budget for unpaid maternity and paternity leave.
Tell me a little bit about both of you, when you got married, your pregnancy journey.
Okay. We met in high school. Oh, I can't do that. We met in high school in band. This is Nay and I at prom walk. He wore sneakers and his mom was so mad. We've been together since I was a senior and he was a junior. It's been 13 years.
So we're out here playing disc golf. It's an activity we love to do in the weekend. This one's pretty physical, so if we're feeling up to it, we go here. If not, there's some flatter courses for her.
Yeah, and I want to have some benches and bathrooms because, we need that. This is a picture of Nate and I at Palo Duro Canyon over spring break. And I had actually just found out I was pregnant a week before this, and I was just over the moon. I first tried to have a baby during the summer because we do not have to work during that time. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get pregnant fast enough. Dear baby, I'm excited to see you grow, to see who you become, what you look like, what you think about, what you're good at. It's just a little bit surreal writing a letter to her because for a little bit there, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to. And where do astronauts go? I've been an online educator for 5 years. My maternity leave will have to take place in the middle of the school year.
This we don't need now.
Okay.
For a little bit, we need to build.
We can put it behind us. Okay. You're supposed to put feet down? I have exactly 4 months until I am due. I tried to save money starting about 18 months ago. I have an HSA for the medical.
There's that thin piece over here, Lynn?
Yep.
That's gonna slide.
Put it through
Somehow, yeah. Through all this food.
Try it from here? Yeah.
Just guidance.
Is there a lot ready or is
this your first major thing? Where are you in terms of getting ready for the baby?
This is the first piece of major furniture that we have for the baby. I do qualify for FMLA, so I will get 12 weeks at home, but it's unpaid. So I'll get 3 weeks of paid time off, which is my vacation days that I've saved up for 3 years, but they're gonna deplete that first. The reality is that paid leave is not a part of the equation.
I think I was assuming that in education, a place where we serve children, that those things would be inherently a part of it. So,
because I have to take all of my vacation time during my maternity leave, this doesn't really leave me with any options on what to do if my baby gets sick, which is a problem because children get sick. That's part of life. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do when those days happen. I'm not sure if I could possibly even get fired because I used all of my days off and now I have to take extra. I'm not sure what kind of position that really is going to put me in. Are you able to get any type of maternity leave? Welcome back to Baby Budget. On this episode, we're going to be talking all about maternity leave in the United States or lack thereof. I'm 19 weeks pregnant, and this was one of my primary reasons for staying at my current job because I didn't want to move jobs and lose all the benefits that I've acquired. And none of that was... So this was the first post that I did on paid leave. And it really resonated with a lot of people because so many of them didn't want to go back to work as soon as they had their baby.
it feels like you almost need a degree in, navigating all the information that is not intentionally withheld, but is not given to you.
How do you prepare for 6 weeks of unpaid leave? Thank you, Rennie, for this excellent question.
Instead, people are finding out these things as they're going through the process.
Prepare for unpaid family leave. So far, the paid leave post that got the most views since I started was the Pass the Family Act post.
The TikTok creators I met have all become activists in one way or another. They use social media not just to connect with people, but to try to change how people feel and think and act.
Hey, this is a little PSA. In high school, we used to be bullied a lot. People call me big head, alien, immigrant. I have, put messages out on TikTok about mental health. Using social media is so important because that's where everyone is right now, of all ages. Everyone is on social media. They're communicating there and, they're expressing their feelings and stuff on social media.
Grant has become a suicide awareness advocate, and he helps people on a weekly basis.
So this was the first mental health post that I made, and I called my wife before I made this post, and I was like, hey, I'm going to do something that is going to cause a lot of waves. Hello, everyone. My name is Sheik Khan, and I need to talk to you about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and I see is constantly growing, and that's suicide. Just this year, I lost 3 very close shipmates to suicide. If you're thinking about it, if you're depressed, if that thought has ever even crossed your mind, go seek help. From there, people that do need help, they'll kind of do their research and go to my Instagram or go to my Reddit or send an email. You are the most important thing in the world. Mental illness to me is still one of those things that's overlooked. Just because you're not physically hurt and you don't have something broken or you don't have stitches somewhere, but you're mentally hurt and you're recovering, you feel like you're alone, you feel like you're on an island. When it comes to paid leave, it is extremely important in the scope of mental health and recovering, because having that family member there is definitely a life or death situation.
After being in the hospital for those, 6 days?
Right.
It seemed like I think since this pandemic, there's been this heightened awareness of the need for paid family medical leave. I have a duty and obligation to keep fighting for it. I have become an activist by making sure I'm amplifying our story. Okay, well, no,
this is what happens,
I know.
She calls her congressman and I run right over. That's what we do.
I just thank you for being just a strong proponent for paid family medical leave. That is something that I've been advocating for personally for my family, with my husband having his disability and just the amount of income that I've lost, jobs that I've lost, and we need a comprehensive plan for paid leave.
And that's all we're trying to do is provide that that's stability for people. And those are the families that we're fighting for, and you're giving voice to.
All right, guys, I want you to go and check out that video at the end of August. I'm going to link it in bio, and then I want you to share it and take action. Contact your legislator and get them to vote for paid leave for all because they work for you.
That was it. Pretty nice stories. Hashtag time to care. So before we get everyone's reaction and have a discussion, we're actually going to have a panel. And I would actually like to have Premelia introduce the panel and share her story here in New Jersey. But before I do that, I just want to actually do a quick poll. As some of you know, I'm a fan of polls on Zoom. So this is a question about if you have ever needed to take paid leave. So those of you that are on Zoom can answer this. And those of you that are watching on Facebook or watching this recording, you can comment in the chat or, just let folks know on the post, what your situation has been. And so keep answering that. And as our panel starts, you can answer that and we'll go over the responses in a minute. So I want to ask Premelia to just take a couple minutes to share her story and then introduce the panel. Premelia?
There it is. Come on over here.
We can hear you.
My name is Premelia Tony Boss. I am the mother of 7, the grandmother of 19, and the great-grandmother of 2. I became an advocate approximately 11 years ago for paid leave because I wanted others to know that there is nothing like having a loved one take care of you. I've had major surgery twice for cancer. I needed care for my adult daughter, but the first time she had no paid leave. It can only take a day here and a day there. The second time, she was able to use New Jersey's paid leave law. Having someone who really knows you, take care of you, makes all the difference in the world. I know I healed faster because my daughter was there. She helped me get through those painful days and nights just by being there. She took family leave so she could be there with me all the time during and after my surgeries. She knew me, knew my taste, and most importantly, I was comfortable with her care. I feel I healed faster because she was there. I felt safe with my daughter at a time when nothing else felt safe. Most of my family have jobs where if you don't go to work, you don't get paid. Knowing that my daughter was able to take the time to care for me made a big difference for their peace of mind as well. The fact that the time is paid gives you the opportunity to care for your loved one, as well as the opportunity to care for yourself and your family. You can continue your life, buy your groceries, pay your rent, and still provide that care. It relaxes you. You're sure the person is getting the care they need because you're giving it. I had other family members that I took care of as they battled cancer. New Jersey family leave was not available at the time, and I used up all my sick and vacation time. Congress needs to step up, be bold, and move the Build Back Better plan that will make strong investments into our caring infrastructure. And I'd like to introduce Jay Wilson and Lauren. I'm not sure if I'm going to mess up your name. Agaradas. And I'd like to
and we just
okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we just wanted to actually let them introduce themselves. We're so honored to have both of you on. I don't know if Jay, you want to start.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much again for allowing us to be in this space. I'm really honored and privileged to be here. My name is Jay Wilson. I'm the founding president and CEO of Melanated Moms. We are a community-centered women empowerment organization that services moms and women across the melanated spectrum. We work very hard to create advocacy spaces just like this for moms and women to have that visibility that they need to become better versions of themselves. So that's through education, that's through creating awareness opportunities like this, and advocacy, right? So giving them the voices that they need to not think that they have to ask for permission to live their lives and to be their best selves, right? So that's who I am. I don't know if you want me to give any more. We're just doing introductions, right?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Lauren, if you want to introduce yourself. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Lauren Agaratis. I'm the New Jersey coordinator of Family Voices at the statewide, SPAN Parent Advocacy Network. And I'm also a family caregiver. My tagline is, my daughter has 5 life-threatening conditions and autism, just to keep it interesting.
Okay, great. So happy to have you both on, and actually would like for you to each take a few minutes to just tell us if you have had a personal story or you have a personal kind of perspective on this issue and the importance of paid leave. Jay, do you want to start again?
Sure, thank you. So this is very close to home for me. I have actually seen the importance of having family paid leave. As a mom myself, my girls are 13, well, she'll be 13 and 10. Through my pregnancies with my children, it was incredibly difficult. I'm actually a 4-time survivor of preeclampsia, and I lost 2 children prior to giving birth to my first daughter, who's 13. And going through those pregnancies and not knowing how to navigate these systems, how I had to figure out what was more important, my life and making sure I can bring this new life into the world, or actually going to work to sustain myself. And I really had to make sure to make the right decision, which was to take care of me, and had to push forward to receive the type of compensation that I needed to go through a very tough pregnancy. I saw a lot of pushback. I also saw how a lot of employers, they gave you space to make that decision, but ultimately they were not giving space to actually support you as your family grew. They were more about the bottom line, like, well, if you're not going to be here, who's going to be here? So for me, I had to understand, like, the importance is not putting 110% of my energy into maintaining this job, because God forbid something happens to me or my children, they're going to still exist. They're going to still have a way to move forward. So from that experience, I know how important it is to advocate for that. I've even, through my organization, Melanated Moms, I've had many moms come to me and ask questions about, how do I protect myself? How do I protect my children? How do I prepare for all of these things that this new journey into motherhood is going to take me into? And we refer them straight here. We want them to know about what are all of the things that you are entitled to, especially here in the state of New Jersey. And then looking at how other states have, excuse me, all of these inequities and how we can create change. So it's not just about identifying these things as problems, but being at the table to create solutions together, and who are those people that are going to be the change makers to get the attention, to create the action steps, right? So just like we saw in the movie, where the young lady went to talk to her congressman. A lot of people feel like that's an unattainable thing. Like, how do you talk to a congressman? They literally do work for us. They work with us. They are our representatives, but they have to know what's happening on the ground and what's happening to the families. So through Melanated Moms and through work with, excuse me, through work with Time to Care Coalition, we've been able to, create more platforms for them to express themselves and to ask the questions and to create these roadmaps so that they're not just asking the questions, they're actually getting the answers that they need to move forward.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. I know, of course, you bring such like an activist perspective to this conversation. So yeah, I mean, I think you bring up some really good points, and there's so much evidence showing the benefits of paid leave on maternal and child health, and we really need to make the case with that evidence. But it's really stories like yours and the folks that you work with, and the rest of you that are going to talk a little bit that can help make the case even more evident. But I want to share the poll results. Lauren, I'm going to give you the stage in just 1 second. Can you see here that most of the folks on the Zoom call tonight have needed to take paid leave, the majority actually for their own health, and that follows with caring for seriously ill loved ones. And then the next most common reason is for bonding with a new baby. We have somebody who took a reason not listed. Would love to hear if you have a story. And then a few of you that haven't used it yet or haven't needed to take paid family leave yet. But we say not yet because it's always something that we know, is possible in our futures, right? Everyone is going to really need to have access to paid leave. The focus right now is really on advocacy at the federal level, because we're talking about passing the first federal paid family leave program ever. But Parmelia mentioned we do have a state paid family leave program here in New Jersey, and it was expanded to make it more equitable just last year. And while Lauren talks a little bit about her story and shares her perspective, I have one more poll to see if you specifically use New Jersey's paid family leave program. So I'm going to launch that poll, and you can answer that while we hear from Lauren. Lauren?
Sorry, the poll was on my screen. Okay. So my story is a good compare and contrast, before and after, unpaid versus paid leave. My story is about the birth of a child with a disability. We were in a perfect position to have a baby, or so we thought. We had no car loans, no student loans, no credit cards, just our mortgage. And my employer didn't know what to do when my daughter was born. It was the first time in the history of the company where there was the birth of a sick child. She spent her first couple of weeks in neonatal intensive care in Philadelphia, and I used all my vacation, sick, and personal time. At the time, I was working for a Fortune 500 company, and FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, had just passed when I needed a second leave. She was 6 months old. I had the doctor's okay to put her in in-home daycare with 2 other babies part-time. I did have to keep working because my insurance covered her, and our first medical bill was $28,000, yay. So her health was kind of backwards. She was only well 2 weeks out of the 6 months, so I had to take another leave. So we put our mortgage on credit cards. We went $20,000 in debt, and we almost lost our new home. So I advocated for paid leave so other families of children with special needs didn't have to go through what we went through. This passed in New Jersey in 2009. It took 10 years. And not knowing I'd need it later, my daughter had a transplant in 2011. This time it was totally different. It didn't take years to recoup. It wasn't that perfect storm of lost wages and medical bills. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. I mean, you've done so much advocating here in New Jersey, and also working to just raise, awareness and understanding. And I just want to say that we are going to be holding a virtual training on New Jersey's paid leave program in a couple of weeks, and we will definitely invite you all to be a part of that. We also are going to launch a new paid leave leaders program. So we're really excited as we really work to get the word out about what we have here in New Jersey. But again, thinking about what we don't have in our country and what the film is really focused on, curious what some of your reactions are, Jay, Lauren. Those of you that are participating, please in the chat, share what your thoughts, reactions are to some of the stories in the film. And I'm wondering if you're on TikTok. Jay, do you want to share any of your thoughts?
Sure. I am actually on TikTok, and thanks to my interns, they actually put us on TikTok. And one of the first things that they actually talked to us about was creating awareness campaigns just like this, right? So it is funny how you don't think of TikTok in a way of how it's being utilized, but it's such an amazing blessing to see how it's coming to fruition. In terms of thoughts from the movie, I feel like it was a reoccurring theme that we've all been identifying, right? Which is you either have to make a huge decision that's going to be one sacrifice over another. Like, do I sustain my household in the way that I know how to, like, holding my job or doing what I need to do, and have that financial security, and then your family member or even yourself has to suffer the consequences of it? Or do you take a step back and you take care of your family? And I feel like this is one of the things that we see way too often when it comes to how the American employment system works, where we value productivity over the people, right? So all of the stories that were shared in the movie, it was very, like, it hit very close to home to hear how they were like, my husband had cancer, or found out he had diabetes, and I had to figure out, am I going to go to work or am I going to make sure he's well? Like, no one ever wants to be in that space of having to choose. And we see time and time again in other countries that this actually works. Like, you can actually take care of your people, the people in your country, and they will then in return take care of the productivity. But if we cannot be well as people and we don't have the backing behind our country to pour into us when we need it the most, why are we still doing this, right? And why did it take an entire pandemic for this to come to the forefront of knowing why this should be a federal law instead of states making this as a decision? So it really hit a lot of things for me. I can go on, but I do understand why we're here and why we definitely need to have federal involvement, because this should not be a state by state or case by case circumstance. We all suffer if one person is ill. We don't want to have a space where you have to choose, am I going to eat today or am I going to die tomorrow because I'm trying to make money to get to tomorrow, So that was my thoughts.
Thanks, Jay. Lauren?
Yeah, Jay, that actually reminded me of when my dad had cancer, and I had waited in the hospital for 6 hours for the doctor to show up. And I asked, is he coming? What's going to happen? And the doctor called the nurses station and said, tell her I'll get there when I get there. This is after 6 hours of waiting. And I had a room full of 40 people waiting for me to do a training. And so I left. And what was I going to do? And I apologized when I showed up because I was in jeans and sneakers because I had been in the hospital all day. So yeah, I mean, we definitely need paid leave for all of these different circumstances. I think the film highlighted that caregiving is a lifespan issue. It could be parents or even siblings of children with disabilities who may need lifelong care, well spouses, or elder care. And one of the other things is, yes, of course, we passed it in New Jersey, but this needs to be national.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. And actually, I do want to see if some other folks participating, Seal, I'm not sure if that's how you say your name, give you a bit of a opportunity to share your story in just a second. I want to share the results of the poll. Interestingly enough, the majority of you haven't actually needed to use New Jersey's paid family leave insurance program. Looks like someone needed it but didn't know about it. And then a couple of you did. Some of you maybe you weren't eligible. So we have a variety of experiences, but just keeping the idea of getting the word out about our program while still fighting at the federal level for this to be national. So with that, I actually would like to bring on another guest to share with us some comments from Representative Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill's office. We are so happy to have you here. Cora, would you mind introducing yourself and sharing a few words?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name is Cora. I do scheduling and also constituent services for the Congresswoman's office here in Parsippany. I'm really thrilled to be here tonight to speak with you all on this important issue. It's been so great hearing the stories in the film and hearing all of your stories as well. As you know, this is an issue of critical importance to Congresswoman Cheryl. She is not only a co-sponsor of the Paid Family Medical Leave Act, but she actually made a call to House leadership to ensure that it was included in the current version of the reconciliation package that the House is considering right now. So obviously there's a lot of discussion right now around getting this passed. Not only the reconciliation package, but the infrastructure package as well. So I do want to say that the Congresswoman is committed to passing both of those packages. The packages together, they represent a critical and very well needed piece of infrastructure that is going to really change things for generations to come. We haven't had something like this in so long, and it's so desperately needed. So right now she's actually couldn't be here tonight because she's in Washington working on this, but we don't really know exactly when it's going to get passed. Things are sort of changing every day and really every minute, but hopefully we will have a better understanding in the next couple of days of when we'll finally get this done. So thank you so much for having me. Stay safe and take care to all.
Thanks so much, Cora. And yes, I mean, big shout out to Representative Cheryl. She has been supportive along the way as we are meeting with different Congress people and urging their support on this issue, as well as, you know, other pieces of the care infrastructure like affordable child care, you know, and other aspects. And the representative has always been somebody who we know we can count on to get out there and lead on this issue and fight for us. So thank you so much. And please pass along this message to Representative Cheryl. We are hopeful that this will advance in the House soon and move to the Senate, and we will be able to celebrate here, maybe in person, to pass the first federal paid family leave program ever. But I do want to acknowledge Nicole's comment, and Nicole, feel free to go off mute and say something, because, you know, we are what's called a legacy state, right? We're a state. Right now, there's about 10 states that have a paid family leave program. And so if we are passing a federal or national paid family leave, what does that mean for states like New Jersey? And, you know, it's just something that is in the mix as we're advocating for federal paid family leave, is making sure that we're allowed to kind of keep the robust aspects of our program. And Nicole, did you want to say something about that?
Thanks, Yaro. Yes. I think you really spoke to it well. I think the fact that in New Jersey, we do allow paid leave for individuals who are impacted by domestic and sexual violence. And that includes whether it is going to court, seeking counseling services, medical services. It really just allows survivors, one, to access information and services, particularly if they are in a situation where they may be isolated, and it gives them that time off potentially, and that freedom and that ability to seek out the services and the care that they might need. In addition to many of the stories that you all shared, survivors also are impacted and in need of leave for caring for children who have disabilities or healthcare issues, or are taking care of older adults. And so having that ability to care for themselves while dealing with domestic violence, but also caring for other ones that they're charged with, is important. So it is something that we know is helping survivors here in New Jersey, and certainly not only for our own state want to make sure that we're able to maintain that, but would love to make sure that we're supporting that for survivors and communities outside of New Jersey as well.
Yes, thank you. It's a really good point. A lot of people aren't aware that our family leave program in New Jersey does include coverage for reasons related to domestic and sexual violence, not only the individual themselves, but anyone who needs to take time off to provide caregiving to them. And yes, it's an important thing to keep in mind as we're moving forward, that New Jersey is able to maintain really robust aspects of our program. So thanks for bringing that up, and continuing to, advocate for victims. So Cecile, you say here in the chat that your story is around mental health. The story in the film does touch on this very sensitive topic. The gentleman who shared a story around issues dealing with suicide as well. I'm not suggesting that was what your issue was, but it can be very difficult to share, that aspect of when we need to take time off to deal with mental health. Is there anything that you want to share? Any thoughts that you have?
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up just to, highlight that because it is an important issue when we're talking about our overall wellness. For me, I had experienced or was experiencing, I didn't even know that that's what it was, but it was severe anxiety and depression. And, I was at work one day and I felt like I was having a heart attack, quite frankly. And, went to the doctor, and this is what my doctor told me, and she pulled me out of work because of it. I didn't even know anything about FMLA until I got something from my job. I was just gonna be home, apply for, I applied for disability actually. And I got a letter from my job saying that I was not eligible for FMLA because I hadn't been at the job long enough or something like that. But either way, these kinds of things, dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety and other mental health concerns, even for women who recently had babies, postpartum disorders, mental disorders are very common among women who just have babies. And so, these may be things that women may need extra time home for, and that needs to be highlighted in the conversation as well.
No, I really appreciate you sharing that. I do want to take 1 minute. It's a point of confusion. FMLA and New Jersey Family Leave Act are laws that cover job protection. So if you haven't been at your job for a year, the employer is not obligated to allow you to return to your job after you take leave. But we have the paid family leave program for caring for someone who is seriously ill or bonding with a new child or disability, which is for your own health, right? Those both are wage replacement programs, and you do not have to have worked at your job for a year to be eligible for the wage replacement if you take leave from your job. But it's very confusing, and a lot of people do not access the paid portion because they believe they're not eligible because they may not be eligible for the job protection piece, which is a component that we're continuing to advocate here in the state of New Jersey as well as the federal level. Is what can we do to make sure that we can access paid time off? Well, we need first to have our jobs protected, right? We need to have adequate wage replacement so that it's an amount that we can afford to live off of. And we need to make sure that it's inclusive, meaning we can take the leave to care for anyone who we consider to be family, if they're not actually a blood relative, which is the definition here in New Jersey and is a piece of the federal package right now. So those are just components so that we can make sure that the paid leave that we do pass is accessible and is equitable. So with that, anyone else, before we kind of talk about action that we can all take, would anyone else like to share anything, any thoughts? Okay, I know it's getting late. All right, so yeah, as we close out, I just want to again comment, as Cora said from Representative Cheryl's office, this is really a historic moment, right? We are at a crucial crossroad because there is no paid leave in the United States, so this is a historic moment. It just doesn't make sense, right? After going through the pandemic, it's so clear how important paid leave is. So we can't come out and have a true recovery without passing this. Working people, businesses, our economy, as Jay mentioned, we just do better, like when we have paid time to care for ourselves and our families. So what can we do to get this done? I'd like to bring back Fatmata to talk about this a little bit more, and we're going to share some links in the chat, and we'll also follow up with you over email with a lot of these links and information so that you can continue to take action, share your stories, and make your voices heard. Fatmata?
Hi everyone again. I'm Fatmata. So the film ended with Lydia's TikTok saying, if we want paid leave, we must demand it. And Lydia creating a new TikTok asking her followers to speak up to elected officials. So here's how we can get involved. And I'm sure, yeah, Yaro said she will add the links in the chat. So the first one is to visit the timetocarefilm.org to get involved and to listen to the stories of those who are demanding paid leave for all. The second action is to share your stories through the Family Value Network website. The third one is to show up at your congresspeople's town hall meetings. With this, I'm sure you can probably go on their websites, on their Facebook pages, just looking up when they have town hall meetings and just showing up and letting your voice be heard. Writing letters to your op-ed, or an op-ed message, and you can also message us for support to do this. Writing letters to your editors, sorry. And if you are not already on your phone, can you please take this number out to text time to care. The number, and Yaro, can you please put this in the chat as well? The number is 844-955-2880. Again, it's 844-955-2880. So when you text that number, you'll receive a link to call, email, and tweet your member of Congress right to your phone. The next thing you can do is follow the Time to Care Coalition, and Yara will also add the link to the chat, and the Family Values link as well, and other paid leave partners to retweet news about the film. Another thing you can do is share information about the Time to Care hashtag, and the link will also be in the chat, and a local newspaper, community website, or newsletter on a community bulletin board, and other information hubs. Another thing you can do is take a short video with your family or your friends, and it will be good to include on the screen with the film's title. Say why you have or will need paid leave. For example, you can have your kids say, my parents need paid leave when I was born, this happened. Your grandparents can also say, I needed my son to have paid leave when I had cancer, things of that nature. And it can also state why you need it to be affordable and accessible for all people. And in the post, just tag your members of Congress, and you can also tag us at Earned Sick Day NJ and at Family Value, and also work at Work on Twitter. The last thing you can do are share the following messages and hashtags and tweets. So the hashtags Time to Care, hashtag Care Can't Wait, hashtag paid leave for all, hashtag recovery takes time, hashtag family needs funds. And then for more social media, you can also visit the bit.ly that Yaro's going to add to the chat.
I'm actually, for some reason, yeah, I got a little frozen.
Okay, do you need me to
just that last link. The last link has a bunch of the hashtags, because who can remember all the hashtags, right? But also just different types of posts in English as well as in Spanish that you can just copy and paste and get the word out there on social media. So definitely check that out, as Fatmata can paste that in the chat. So yeah, I mean, we're at a point. We have zero tolerance for 0 weeks of paid leave in the US, and we finally need to pass paid leave for all. And it needs to be adequate. It needs to be robust and meaningful with enough time and with enough wage replacement amount to make it matter. So, you know, we're going to see what happens here in the next few days with a vote in the House, and then next is the vote in the Senate. And we just need to keep the drumbeat going that whatever is moving needs to be meaningful. It needs to matter. And we need to be strong and share our stories to make sure that our policymakers, our congresspeople, and the public in general understands how critical this issue is. So thank you for your time. Let's keep taking action together. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, everyone.